I always knew Victoria Morrison didn't think I was good enough for her son, but I never imagined she'd destroy my career to prove it. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The signs were there from the moment I met Nathan 15 years ago. I was a junior analyst at Morrison Technologies, fresh out of business school with big dreams and bigger student loans. Nathan was the CEO's son, working his way up through the company's ranks to prove he wasn't just riding on his mother's coattails. Mom's tough on everyone, Nathan warned me on our third date, after I mentioned the impossible deadlines Victoria kept setting for my team. But she's especially tough on people she sees potential in. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think that Victoria's constant criticism of my work, my clothes, my background was some twisted form of mentorship. Even after Nathan and I got married, I kept trying to win her approval, working 60-hour weeks, taking on the projects no one else would touch, delivering results that helped drive the company's stock price to record highs. For a while, it seemed to be working. I climbed the corporate ladder steadily, earning each promotion through merit rather than marriage. By our 10th anniversary, I was head of strategic development, managing a team of 30 and reporting directly to the board. Nathan led the technology division, and together we were positioning Morrison Technologies for the future. Victoria watched it all with those sharp gray eyes of hers, saying little but missing nothing. During family dinners, she quizzed me about ongoing projects, probed for weaknesses in my strategies. I learned to guard my words carefully, to back every statement with data. "You're paranoid," Nathan would tell me when I expressed concern about his mother's interrogations. "Mom respects you. She tells everyone how lucky we are to have you." Then came the Singapore project. It started as a routine acquisition, a small but promising tech startup with patents we wanted. I led the due diligence team, spending months analyzing financials, assessing risks, negotiating terms. Everything checked out. The board approved the deal unanimously. 2 days before closing, Victoria called me into her office. "Amanda," she said, gesturing for me to sit in one of the leather chairs facing her massive desk. "We need to discuss the Chen situation." I felt a flutter of unease. David Chen was the founder of the Singapore startup we were acquiring. "Is there a problem with the deal?" Victoria's perfectly manicured fingers drummed against her desk. "You could say that. Our sources indicate Chen is shopping our offer to competitors. Apparently, someone leaked the details of our bid." My blood ran cold. "That's impossible. Only the board and my immediate team had access to those numbers." "Precisely." Her gray eyes fixed on me like a snake watching its prey. "And you're the common denominator. You had access to everything, and you had motive." "Motive?" I struggled to keep my voice steady. What possible motive could I have to sabotage my own deal? "Perhaps you're not as committed to this company as you pretend to be." Victoria's voice was silk over steel. "Perhaps your loyalty lies elsewhere. With one of our competitors, maybe?" I stared at her, finally understanding. "You think I'm a corporate spy?" "The evidence is quite compelling." She opened a folder on her desk, sliding several papers across to me. Phone records showing calls to numbers associated with our main competitors. Emails sent at odd hours. Large deposits to offshore accounts. My hands shook as I examined the documents. They looked authentic, but these are forgeries. I've never made these calls, never sent these emails, and I certainly don't have offshore accounts. "The board meets tomorrow morning to discuss the situation." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I suggest you use the time to consider your position carefully. A quiet resignation might be best for everyone." I left her office in a daze, my mind racing. The accusations were absurd, but they were also carefully crafted, just plausible enough to create doubt. And Victoria had obviously been building this case for a while, gathering what looked like evidence, laying the groundwork. Nathan was in a meeting when I tried to call him. I left a message, then started making copies of everything I could think of that might help my defense. Emails, project documentation, meeting notes. I worked through the night, fueled by coffee and fear. At 8 a.m. sharp, security appeared at my office door. "Ms. Walker, we need you to come with us." They escorted me to the boardroom like a criminal. Victoria sat at the head of the table, wearing a black suit that made her look like a judge about to pass sentence. The other board members avoided my eyes as I took my seat. "Ms. Walker," Victoria began, her voice carrying the weight of authority she'd spent decades cultivating. "We've called this meeting to address serious concerns about your conduct." For the next hour, she presented her case against me. The forged documents, testimony from anonymous sources claiming I'd been seen meeting with competitors, financial records supposedly showing suspicious patterns. I tried to defend myself, but I could see I was fighting a losing battle. Victoria had orchestrated this perfectly, building a narrative that played into existing prejudices. After all, I was an outsider who had risen quickly through the ranks, who had married the CEO's son, who had access to sensitive information. The vote was unanimous. Termination for cause, effective immediately. Nathan finally called as security was escorting me out of the building, carrying my personal belongings in a cardboard box like some cliché from a corporate drama. "Amy, what's going on? Mom says you've been stealing company secrets." "It's not true," I said, fighting back tears. "None of it's true. Your mother set me up." There was a long pause. "That doesn't make sense. Why would she do that?" "Because she's never trusted me. Never thought I was good enough for you or the company. Nathan, you have to believe me." Another pause. I need time to think, to look at the evidence. Mom wouldn't do something like this without reason." I hung up, my last hope crumbling. Victoria had won. She'd managed what she'd been trying to do for 15 years. Drive a wedge between me and her son, destroy my career, prove that I didn't belong in her world. That night, alone in a house Nathan and I had shared for 12 years, I poured myself a glass of wine and tried to figure out what to do next. My phone was filled with missed calls from colleagues, industry contacts, even reporters seeking comment on my corporate espionage scandal. Victoria had done a thorough job. By morning, my reputation would be in tatters. No major company would touch me. 15 years of hard work, gone in a day. I was about to pour a second glass when my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. "Mrs. Walker?" A man's voice, elderly but sharp. "My name is Harold Chen, David Chen's father. I believe we need to talk." I sat up straighter. "Mr. Chen, I'm afraid I can't discuss the Morrison Technologies acquisition." "This isn't about the acquisition," he cut in. "This is about Victoria Morrison and how she's been running her company for the past 20 years. I have information that might interest you. Information she definitely doesn't want made public." I thought about the cardboard box of belongings, about Nathan's hesitation, about 15 years of subtle undermining and careful manipulation. "I'm listening," I said. Mr. Chen's next words changed everything. "Have you ever wondered where Morrison Technologies' initial funding really came from?" Harold Chen's revelation kept me up all night. The story he told about Morrison Technologies' origins was like something out of a corporate thriller: stolen patents, betrayed partnerships, and carefully concealed paper trails leading back 25 years. "Victoria Morrison didn't build this company," he explained, his voice heavy with old pain. "She stole it. From my family, from her original partners, from everyone who trusted her." I spent the next 3 months investigating, using contacts I'd built over 15 years in the industry. Every lead I followed unveiled new layers of deception. Victoria hadn't just betrayed the Chens. She'd systematically eliminated or undermined anyone who could threaten her control. Including me. My laptop became a digital vault of evidence. Old contracts with suspicious amendments, emails recovered from archive servers, financial records showing patterns of systematic fraud. But the most damaging evidence came from an unexpected source: Victoria's own executive assistant, Marie. "I've been keeping records for years," Marie told me over coffee, sliding a USB drive across the table. Voice recordings, photos of documents before they were officially modified. I always knew I might need protection someday. The recordings were devastating. Victoria's voice, clear and cold, discussing illegal stock manipulation, planning the sabotage of potential competitors, orchestrating my downfall. "Make sure the fake evidence is solid," she told someone in one recording. "I want her completely discredited. No one hires her, no one trusts her. My son needs to see what a mistake he made." Nathan had moved up 2 months ago, unable to choose between his wife and his mother. "I just need time," he kept saying, "to figure out the truth." The truth was about to become very public. Morrison Technologies' annual shareholders meeting was approaching. Victoria had always turned these events into theatrical productions, showcasing her power and control. This year would be no different, except I had a front row ticket, courtesy of a small stock position I'd maintained through a blind trust. The morning of the meeting, I dressed carefully in a black suit that meant business. My hands didn't shake as I gathered my evidence, copies distributed on encrypted drives, documents organized for maximum impact, recordings queued to specific timestamps. The grand ballroom of the Morrison building was packed. Victoria stood at the podium, resplendent in designer clothes, projecting absolute confidence as she detailed the company's recent successes. I watched from the back, waiting. Finally, she opened the floor for questions. I stood, making my way to the microphone. Victoria's face flickered when she saw me, but she recovered quickly. I'm afraid only shareholders may participate in this portion of the meeting. Oh, I'm still a shareholder, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the room. Though not as significant as the Chen family. Speaking of which, I have Mr. Harold Chen on video conference. He has some interesting questions about the company's early funding. A murmur ran through the crowd. Victoria's knuckles whitened on the podium. This is highly irregular. So is corporate theft, I cut in, nodding to my assistant at the back. The large screens around the room flickered to life, showing Harold Chen's grave face. Mr. Chen, would you like to tell everyone how Victoria Morrison really acquired the patents that built this company? What followed was 30 minutes of carefully orchestrated destruction. We played the recordings, Victoria's own voice laying out her crimes. We showed the documents proving the systematic fraud. Harold Chen detailed how Victoria had stolen his family's intellectual property, using their ideas to build her empire while leaving them with nothing. These are baseless accusations, Victoria tried to interject, but her voice had lost its authority. The evidence was too clear, too overwhelming. Then came the final blow. The SEC has already received copies of everything, I announced, as have the FBI and the Department of Justice. But before they arrive, I have one more recording to play. Victoria's face went ash white as her own voice filled the room again. Make sure the fake evidence is solid. I want her completely discredited. The room erupted in chaos. Board members huddled in urgent consultation. Shareholders pushed forward, demanding answers. Security guards looked uncertainly between Victoria and the gathering crowd, unsure who they should be protecting. Through it all, I stood calmly at the microphone. I moved for an immediate vote of no confidence in the current CEO and the appointment of an interim management team pending full investigation. The vote wasn't even close. I watched as Victoria was escorted from the podium, her empire crumbling around her. She stopped as she passed me, her face a mask of cold fury. You've destroyed everything, she hissed. No, I corrected her quietly. You did that yourself. I just exposed the truth. The aftermath was spectacular. Victoria was arrested the next day, along with several board members who had helped cover up her crimes. The company's stock plunged, then stabilized as the interim management team began damage control. The Chen family received a substantial settlement, including licensing rights to their original patents. Harold Chen insisted on offering me a position as CEO of their new technology venture, but I had other plans. Nathan found me packing up our house a week later. I didn't know, he said, standing in the doorway looking lost. About any of it. I should have believed you. I continued carefully wrapping our wedding photos in bubble wrap. Yes, you should have. We can fix this, he pleaded. Now that everyone knows the truth. The truth? I finally looked at him. The truth is that when your mother accused me of crimes I didn't commit, you chose to need time instead of standing by your wife. The truth is that you watched her destroy my career and did nothing. I was confused. The truth, I continued, my voice steady, is that I deserve better. Someone who trusts me, who fights for me, who doesn't need proof of my innocence because they know my character. I handed him a stack of papers. Divorce papers. My lawyer will contact yours to arrange details. That was 6 months ago. The criminal trials are still ongoing, but Victoria took a plea deal that will keep her in prison for at least a decade. Morrison Technologies has been renamed and restructured, with new management and stricter oversight. I did accept a position after all, Chief Strategy Officer at a rising tech firm in Seattle. New city, new start, new life. My team consists largely of talented people who were pushed aside or undermined during Victoria's reign. Together, we're building something based on innovation and integrity, not theft and manipulation. Yesterday, I received a letter from Nathan. He's in therapy, he wrote, working through the damage of growing up with Victoria's manipulation. He hopes someday I can forgive him. Maybe I will eventually, but not today. Today, I'm focused on the future I'm building for myself. A future where I don't have to prove my worth to anyone, where my success is built on talent and hard work, not lies and betrayal. Victoria once told me I didn't belong in her world. She was right about that, at least. I belong in a better one. One I'm creating on my own terms. The irony? Morrison Technology's stock is now trading at half its former value. The company I help lead, our IPO next month is expected to break industry records. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's empire. It's about building your own stronger and better than theirs ever was, and doing it honestly.